For you baseball aficionados here in the city of Boston, you have to realize that baseball has been big business since 1871. After the Civil War, many people began to actually enjoy a game that became known as baseball. And it began in Boston's South End at what became known as the area of Columbus Avenue and Walpole Street. That area today is St. Cyprian's Church. But during the period of the 1870s and 1880s, the South End fields themselves was something that was not only enjoyable, but it brought thousands of people to begin to actually enjoy the modern game of baseball. Well, during that period of time, it wasn't the only one, because within a few years, they began to develop what became known as the Huntington Avenue grounds. And the Huntington Avenue grounds itself, like the South End fields, was something that was quite large. It was adjacent to not only the New York, New Haven, and Hartford Railroad tracks, but also Huntington Avenue. And it was something that really began, in some instances, the first professional approach to the game of baseball. And today it would be opposite what is today Huntington Avenue and Opera Place. Between those two fields, you began to see Victorian Bostonians enjoying a sport that has today become beloved by many people in the city. But it would be in the period of the early 20th century that it would actually be amalgamated in some ways into two baseball fields. Boston's Fenway Park, owned by the Taylors of the Boston Globe, and later here, Boston Braves at what is Braves Field. We're in the area of Boston University, and this area just off of Commonwealth Avenue at Aganis Way is something that was once known as the ALLSTON Golf Club. During the period of the early 20th century, if you can imagine Allston having a golf course, it was something that was a great resort. And throughout the period, up until 1914, many people played golf here. But beginning in 1915, Osborne Construction Company would actually develop what was called a jewel box of a baseball park. It would see 40,000 people, and here the Boston Braves would move from Boston's South End, where they had played at the Huntington Avenue grounds for many years. But the whole idea here was that the area was something that would become developed, not just for Braves Field, but also for a major university in the United States. During the period of the 1950s, many people lamented the loss of this once formidable baseball team, sometimes known as the Boston Braves, sometimes known as the Boston Bees. At that time, we would see that not only was the land sold to Boston University, but the beginnings of the development of the area for what became known as Nickerson Field, but on a much reduced scale. But today, we actually revisit one of the two top baseball teams in Boston, not just the Boston Red Sox that survive, but the wonderful aspect of the Boston Braves.